On this episode of ResiWeek, we talk Shelly, the Leon frame bar, and the Apple HomePod. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek, episode 364, Breathing New Life. Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek. This is your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential industry. I'm your host, Matthew Scott for AVNation.tv, and this week I'm pleased to be joined by two of my closest friends. First, I have my sister, Heather Sidorowicz. She is the president of Southtown AV. How you doing, Heather?
Well, Matt, I'm a little bit in mourning over here after the Buffalo Bills' terrible loss last night. But other than that, I'm just
sorry.
grand.
They had a great season, which doesn't help at all, but, you know.
It doesn't ease the pain.
Not a bit. Not a bit.
Won't matter one way or another what kind of season they had.
No, it doesn't. Never does. That right there is Mitchell Klein. He's the executive director of the Z-Wave Alliance. How you doing, sir?
Excellent. Glad to be back again, Matt, and be with Heather. Happy New Year to you both.
Happy Lunar New Year as well.
It's been a goodish start. We'll go with that.
No, not really, but we'll go with it.
Otherwise, we have to say it's been a bad start, and that's not encouraging either.
How about a slow start?
A slow start works.
I have not had a slow start.
This has been the busiest slow start I've ever had.
I feel like I've been slingshotted into 2023, actually. So
we didn't really take a holiday, so it's been a bit of a hot mess over here, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah, well, when you're preparing for CES, anyway, sorry about that. Okay.
CES, ISE, everything's...
But you're doing all that preparation, you're not relaxing before the new year, and then bang, you're in. So
Yeah, it just kicks off real fast. All right, this comes to us from CE Pro. Shelly adds 8 new smart home products to their Pro and Plus series. If you haven't heard of Shelly, don't feel bad. I hadn't either until our producer Mitchell sent this over to us. They did exhibit at CES. They are a smart home division of Alterico Robotics out of the U.S., who makes these. They've got some pretty cool things. What I wanted to touch on, though, was the fact that it's all DIN rail mounted. They all act as Wi-Fi extenders and or Bluetooth extenders. They can do a whole bunch of really interesting kind of cool things. Hey, Heather, I want to start with you on this one. Who is deploying these? Like, I love the concept of DIN rail. We don't use it. We use it for patching speaker cable right now. That is the only thing that we use DIN rail for internally. I want to use it. It looks cool. It looks great. My European friends are like, DIN rail's the best. And they have all these cool products that for the most part we don't have here. Obviously these are sold here, but I'm not sure where I'm using these, if I'm using these at all. Where do these fit into the average integrator's business?
That's a really good question that I don't know the answer to.
Awesome.
I almost feel like we've stalled out on the home AV world, right? So some of it's become so simple that we're deploying it over and over again. But has there been any great new change that's like a disruptor to our industry? I don't think so, unless I'm missing something. But I have not seen any crazy disruptor. We're seeing that these nudges, maybe Shelly's a nudge, but I don't think that it's going to be anything that's going to gain crazy popularity anytime soon, unless you're introducing that in conjunction with ... in conjunction with Sonos to make it more such and such. I mean, releasing a great new product is really just the beginning of a very tall, difficult uphill climb.
I saw somebody just before we go to Mitch. I saw somebody online who was using NFC tags to automate a bunch of stuff, and they were using their iPhone to do all this crap. And I'm watching the video, and she's going through how she uses it for tracking vitamins and all this other stuff. And I'm like, but why? I didn't know it was that hard. And I get for some people that's very, very helpful. But
there are certain people who want 27 buttons to do 27 different things, but most people, if we're talking about the industry as a whole, no.
Yeah, I'm very confused. Mitchell, the thing I was curious about with this that kind of hit me off is they've got a a Pro 3 EM little DIN rail 3-phase energy meter with Bluetooth and LAN, which I did find interesting. I like anything that is an energy monitor, but to date, really the only energy monitoring that we've done for clients, and again, I'm talking about my own business, so I'm a one-off in that sense. We've used Envision from Surgex to trace energy issues, not necessarily monitor it. Are we getting closer to the point of putting energy monitoring in some way, shape, or form onto most of our projects? When is that going to turn?
So let's go to Shelly for a moment, okay? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just an interesting name for a company. We were talking about that earlier, right? And I had seen them and become familiar with the brand in Europe because they're based out of Bulgaria.
Yep.
So again, who knows what Shelly means in Bulgarian, but it's probably not a first name. And to be quite candid, I wasn't very interested in it either. It looked kind of like weird stuff in DIN rail, which doesn't really have much relevance in North America. And then they acquired a company that I'm very familiar with called GoApp, or the product is called Cubino, which no one on this call has ever heard of either. But they're a big Z-Wave supplier for sensors and other devices on cruise ships and things like that. So anyway, getting to the point, they were at CEDIA, and hence I was kind of brought over to see what CES, the other C one, CES. And so I was brought over to their booth and started looking at their products. And the first thing I noticed was all the DIN rail. And I said to him, like, DIN rail in the US? He goes, oh, yeah, professionals all use that. I'm like, okay, which professionals are these? Because I've never seen DIN rail. Maybe in building automation on the commercial side, but I don't think so. But either way, I looked past that. And they also have the devices that go behind the switches in the workbox. Mm-hmm. They also have some other plug-in devices that actually will plug into a wall to manage the energy consumption out of that particular outlet. So they're really getting very big into energy monitoring. So you can do it at the panel, at the circuit breaker, at the outlet, at the device level. Don't ask me for the use case, but I'm just saying what you can do with it, okay? And the other thing, what's interesting is you can program these devices to actually monitor the cost of electricity, because it will make a direct connection to your electrical supplier. So you could program it to say, only turn on the switch or run this circuit breaker during certain times when prices are at certain costs. Okay. Now, again, they come out of Bulgaria. So as we know, energy is very expensive in Europe, and these things make a whole lot of sense in Europe, right? In the US or in Canada, I'm not so sure about that yet, but this is a brand to pay attention to. Let me put it that way, because at some point you're going to want to be able to monitor the device. I'm kind of with you, Heather. I don't know really where the use case is specific to, our customers. If they can afford the electricity.
It's interesting. I know we went through my office kind of over the Christmas break a little bit, and I had so many little offshoot demos from some of the smaller companies that came in, little boxes, and that stuff all got turfed because we don't use it. I can't find a place for
they offered me to send some to me. I'm going to take them up on it and let you know what.
It's always worth bringing stuff in and playing with it. But I know we had, and I'm not going to name the companies, but we had a lot of stuff that was just sitting around that we tried, looked at it, and went, cool. I don't know what we do with it though. Anyways, all right, let's change topics for a second. This comes to us from CE Pro. Leon Speakers is going to showcase new designer AV solutions at ISC 2023. They've got a couple new things specifically in addition to their normal stuff. They are introducing and showing their brand book, which has got 200 pages of product and installation imagery to help inspire and convey the integrity and beauty. Yeah, I'm reading that. Of the Leon's product line.
I'm inspired.
You know what? I love this idea. I am all for this. We've got a couple vendors that still do this. And honestly, most of them are not really they're adjacent to our space, but I need way more high quality imagery from manufacturers.
Sure.
That would be fan-stinking-tastic. But on top of that, they are also going to show off their frame bar, which is matched to the Samsung frame in a variety of matching colors and styles. They're showing the tone case fit. They're on tray, maybe, sound tile, as well as their Terra Lumen sound outdoor speakers and a bunch of other things. Mitch, let me start with you on this one. Designed speaker things are obviously a big deal to a certain segment of the market. If you're an integrator who is not currently necessarily working in that area, that niche of segment, yeah, because it's niche, but it's not, right? Like people that want something other than just
what segment are we talking about here?
The segment that buys designer speakers.
So different than a soundbar, but like where you're matching.
Yeah. Where you're going over and above the box, right? Whatever that box is, whether it's a soundbar, whether it's a bookshelf, whether it's an in ceiling. How do you go from selling just those features and just those products into the more designer friendly products?
You mentioned it first off, which was the design book, idea book, mm-hmm. right? And I kind of made a joke about it, but in reality, that's a fabulous tool,
right?
And who says design is only for the professional designer? I mean, design matters. I don't see where the average Cedia type customer is like, I don't care about design. I'm going to put this ugly stuff up. I mean, design counts. So I kind of think that a book like
that's my quote.
What's that? Design counts?
I don't care. I'm just putting up this ugly stuff.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the implication here, right?
There are some companies that make an entire career off that.
Yeah. So, I think, you need to put additional arrows in the quiver of the installers. I mean, this is stuff that can help the interior design. Why does it have to be an architect or professional designer or even a high-end home? What barriers are there to the typical home? Why wouldn't you put something nice looking there? So anyway, I think it's awesome. And
the answer is cost.
Well, there's cost, but again, don't sell with your own pocketbook.
Oh, I agree. But I'm telling you, as someone who doesn't sell from their own pocketbook, many of the average consumers who ask for it, once they see the cost, they pull back. And there are, in both displays and soundbars, have become so much better looking than they used to, that for most people, they're good enough. Mm-hmm. But I think that I love Leon because I like that they are at least breaking the mold and they're being creative about it. So instead of saying, hey, we're going to make our own product and not play well with others, they're saying, no. If you love Sonos, that's cool. We'll make your Sonos look even better. We'll match it even more. And I really appreciate the fact that Leon does that. I like their niche, their segment that they play in. They're a little bit different than everybody else. And they understand audio really well. I love what they did with the art wall. I want one, even though I don't need one. I love their liquid view. If you've ever seen that, I really, really want a liquid view. Hint, hint, Leon.
No, I mean, I like that. And I agree, Heather. So if you say most of your customers, that means the rest of them would get it.
Yeah.
So if you don't show it, if you don't talk about it, you don't get the others. You get nothing.
And they don't even know it exists because that's what they're coming up to us for. I couldn't get this on the first page of Google.
So Heather, let me ask you this. I don't want to shift the conversation, but this is something that I've experienced a ton. I've heard other integrators experience it, specifically with something like the frame. Designers will spec the frame because it looks like a picture.
And over again. It's the only TV.
It's the only TV. And with all due respect, it is a fantastic TV. It works really, really well.
Yeah, until it breaks, and then good luck.
Well, yes, but that's the same. Let's be fair. That's the same with all of them now. We had a bunch of problems with Sony last week. Anyways, I digress. Yeah, it's true. Anyways, we're not getting into that one. What I'm curious about is we continually see pushback, right? With you've spec the frame or someone spec the frame or a very pretty display that can be art at some point. And then you say, hey, we're also going to do, in this case, a really nice frame bar that'll match. It'll look great. It'll mostly disappear onto the wall. And the designers say, but it's still a big bar under my picture, which is not what pictures have. Have you been to a museum in your life? And then you lose either you lose the audio aspect of that project, or
which is crazy.
You've frustrated the heck out of the designer because you're going to put this big bar in anyways. Is there any good solution to that?
Yes. Leon used to make, and they might still, but they custom soundbar, their own custom soundbar. So you would give them the dimensions to whatever TV you had, and they would build the soundbar. And I've done that on a commercial setting on multiple floors. We had the display and the custom soundbar that matched the display. And then there's some others, like Paradigm made one eventually, and others did. Take that same concept and then put the frame around it. So if there was a way to pull that, like have a connection with Samsung and say, we'll make a soundbar that matches the 65, the 75, and the 85, and then put the frame around the whole thing. Well, now I'm back to a picture, right? I'm back to a rectangle. And I can still hide that. There are ways to do it if you think a little bit beyond, because I agree with you. You wouldn't see in a museum or on a photograph, there isn't a secondary rectangle underneath that. But there are ways to make it work within if you're going that far.
I've always been impressed with the mock-ups of Architectural Digest is actually kind of bad for this. They will Photoshop out the TVs.
And just like every home and garden show says, don't put a TV in the living room.
Yeah.
Except that that's what everybody wants.
They want a picture over the fireplace. They definitely don't want a TV in this room. These people are so fancy. They don't ever watch TV. They don't like sports. They don't like drama.
Nope.
Nothing. No TVs anywhere.
They only watch the PBS news. That's it.
No, they don't even watch that. It's just MSNBC.
Or Fox News.
No, those people have big TVs. They have them on their boat with their flags, remember? All right, let's change topics one last time. This comes to us from Hidden Wires. Apple has reintroduced the HomePod, and
that's a big woohoo. Yes.
Yeah, sort of, kind of. Not
they had
really.
to reintroduce it because no one knew about it.
Well, they did. They bought it and then they put it in a box because it sucked. But they didn't bring this out to any fanfare. It was literally an email that was sent out to journalists and a couple of partners. It's updated. It's got a Gen 2 nomenclature to it. It's very odd.
Do any of us know anybody who has this in their home? A HomePod?
I do. I know a couple people that have them.
I know nobody. Mitch? No.
Nope. I don't know. No, I don't know anyone.
So Heather, let me ask you this. Does this have, at this point, any bearing, not necessarily on our market, but on like the smart home market at all?
Negative, Ghost Rider.
Nothing? You don't think it matters?
Negative, Ghost Rider.
Okay, it does. Yeah. Yeah.
It's got matter in it.
I'll be your contrarian.
Yeah, be the contrarian. It's got matter in it.
I'm your contrarian.
It's going to work with their version of HomeKit, which they're loosely not forgetting about, is kind of the best way to put it, I think.
Breathing life back into it is what they're doing. And they're doing it with Matter. And they've got brands that everyone's heard of, like Eve and Nanoleaf and others.
Not that one.
I'm sorry, but it's a lot easier for. I shouldn't be doing that. It's nice that smaller companies can actually pivot like this. So anyway, and the new one comes in black or like a grayish black.
Yeah, it's fancy.
Didn't have that before. I mean,
nope. Look at that.
See?
It's midnight, actually. It's midnight.
Oh, midnight?
Midnight.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So Apple released a bunch of new products over the last couple of months without any fanfare as well. A new Mac, I believe.
Yep.
A couple other things I know. So this kind of fit the pattern of no pattern with Apple releases. And actually, Apple is really paying attention to the smart home. They've invested a huge amount of time and code to that effect to Matter. They've been very active in actually leading one of the main working groups for Matter. So they're very much big into it in the background. We haven't really seen that outside of the industry yet, but you will. I mean, just patience. In the next, I don't know, I'll be sarcastic and saying the next 5 years, but I think you'll start seeing
So
more
to your
and more.
point where you said that this does matter, but now on the other side of it, you're saying the next 5 years. So does this matter today? No.
That's what I'm saying. It's exactly my point. Yeah.
Right? Like, so no, it really, this will not make a difference nor dent in the current smart home world. Yes, there will be a handful of users to say, sure, I use it, but no.
Is Apple's, in your opinion, is Apple's play with Matter, is it at this point strictly a software play? Or do you think that they are going to somehow grow into a stronger hardware base, given that currently the only thing in their ecosystem that is supporting Matter that they're involved in is the HomePod and potentially down the road the Apple TV, which currently has been their brains for HomeKit?
Yeah, and that's probably where it's going to play right now. And they'll try and build the ecosystem around it.
Now, that being said, Apple has more capacity than anybody else combined. We could take every smart home company, combine them, and they wouldn't even be close to the power that Apple has. But I don't think Apple's looking at this as a profit puppy. So why would they commit that kind of dollars unless they were after something, right? The reason that Amazon does it is because they're data mining. I mean, whether how much they're listening or not, they're still data mining.
Yeah, Amazon wants to sell product. Their whole point is to sell stuff, and they're using that data to sell stuff.
Apple isn't doing that, so there'd have to be a way for them to make money back. And it might be all the pieces of the pie that they have, arcade and Apple Music and fitness and all those pieces together and the wearables. The ability that they could have would be amazing. I come home when I'm listening to my Apple CarPlay and it seamlessly goes to my house and plays my music, or vice versa. Or it knows, your phone, if you don't pay attention, already knows that you're going to go to work in 15 minutes and will say, hey, there's traffic or not, because Apple Maps already is paying attention to where you're going. They have the ability, but at this point, I just don't think that they're interested in the game until they can figure out a way to really profit off of it.
It's a great point. And I, as much as I work with some of them, don't have any insights into this at all. None.
You know what would be interesting is if Apple decides to throw Matter into their watches. Because Heather, that's something that I have not thought of before.
Right, like geofencing, all these things. Like, why do I have to?
Oh my gosh, that could be massive. All right, I'm going to call Tim.
Apple's invested heavily into ultra wideband, and you already have that on your phone. And I'm not so sure they're going to put Matter into your watch, but you never know.
But even if they can just use it as an input.
What's the matter with you?
Oh, sorry. Wow. All right. And on that terrible joke, we're gonna end it. Mitch, if people want to connect with you, learn more. I can't even pull out of that one easily. Mitch, if people want to connect with you, learn more about the Z-Wave Alliance, visit you guys at ISE. How can they do that?
Just send me an email, mitch@zwavealliance.org.
Excellent. Thank you, my friend. Heather, if people want to connect with you, learn more about Southtown AV and everything you're doing over in the Buffalo area, how can they connect with you?
It's southtownav.com. If you're looking for me, you could Google me. But Tech Chi on Twitter, tech_chi. Heather at southtownav.com.
Excellent. Thank you, my friends. Thank you for joining us. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Twitter at Matty Scott and most other social platforms. But more importantly, please visit AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.